What's up, Visionaries?
It's Mel.
And it's Greg. And M.A.G. Visions is back today bringing y'all another video. Now, today's video, we have Film Theory.
Yeah, something different.
The Spider-Man 2 mystery on why Spider-Man lost his powers. What do you think will make Spider-Man lose his powers?
I don't know. Like, I would think he would never lose his powers until death, or unless death. But yeah, I don't know what else could make him lose his powers. But what we do like is hearing people's theories and what they think happened, so we can either agree, disagree, or give them, I'm not sure about that one.
Right. Would you call us conspiracy theorists? I would say,
yeah, a little bit.
That was, man, hey, I like watching stuff like that.
A little bit, maybe a lot of bit. A lot of bit of a little, yeah.
I don't know. It's always a little bit of truth in everything.
Yeah, it is. Or a reason why it came up in the first place. It became a theory, probably because there's some possibility that it might be true.
Right. So, this is Film Theory, the Spider-Man 2 mystery, why Spider-Man lost his powers.
Right.
So, before we get to the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Subscribe.
Make sure you leave a like on the video.
Let's like.
Make sure you leave your comments down below.
Down there.
Let's go ahead and get to this video. Theory Man. That's from the old Spider-Man. I like that green Spider-Man. Ooh, they were dead the whole time.
Spider-Man's missing mojo.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, where today, can we just stop to appreciate what a great year 2018 was? Oh, no, not for me. For Spider-Man. The PS4 game crushed and was nearly Game of the Year. Venom was way more enjoyable than most people expected and earned nearly $1 billion. And Into the Spider-Verse was literally the best animated movie that I have seen in years. I mean, sure, he got dusted out of existence and all that, so that was a bit of a low point, but still, pretty solid year on the whole. And sure, we may have lost one Spidey, press F to pay respects, but heck, Spider-Verse gave us another 6 to root for. They're multiplying like flies. Spiders.
Like gremlins.
You know what else it gave us, though? An incredible tribute to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. The one that redefined what superhero movies were in their darkest of days. The trilogy responsible for the superhero renaissance. The movies that did the Thanos snap 17 years before it became a spicy meme. Sure, those references at the beginning of Into the Spider-Verse were just that. References to those past movies. This Peter Parker is not the same one as the one from those older movies.
Definitely not.
Revisit that original trilogy. For those of you who haven't seen these classics in some time, you know the basic premise. Bobblehead Tobey Maguire gets himself bitten by a genetically altered spider. Great power, great responsibility, blah blah blah. Your standard Spider-Man. But upon rewatching them, there was one mystery that was never explained in the movies. One that has remained unsolved for the last 17 years, and a mystery that today, I think I can finally answer. You see, in Spider-Man 2, largely considered to be one of the best superhero movies of all time, Peter Parker loses his powers.
Right. Yes.
They just stop working. No explanation, no nothing. Just pooping out at the times that he needs them the most.
Why is this happening to me?
Good question, Peter. That's what I intend to answer today. Taking this as a sign, Peter briefly gives up the mask to focus on his personal life. Later, when the threat of the super powerful Doc Ock emerges, Spidey's dragged back onto the scene, and wouldn't you know it, his powers just conveniently come back the moment that he needs them. And of course, all this is probably just for plot convenience. But you know how I roll. If there's an explanation that goes beyond, well, it was important to the theme of the movie, then I'm gonna find it. And I think I have. I believe that there is a legitimate scientific explanation for this seemingly random plot thread in Spider-Man 2. One that not only fills the narrative gap and gives us greater insight into the movie's themes, but also gives us a bit more information on the nature of Peter's spider abilities. So to truly understand what's happening, we have to first rewind to Spider-Man 1. So in the first movie, running parallel to Peter's spider puberty is the story of Norman Osborn, his best friend's father, who does some sciencing on himself to gain laboratory-induced superpowers with just a dollop of madness.
It turned into the Goblin, right?
Yeah.
As the newly born Green Goblin, Norman does all the usual villain stuff, menace New York, turn people into spooky, scary skeletons, dress as an old woman, and star in terrible Broadway musicals.
He dresses as an old woman.
Stories I could tell you about that that show. And yes, that character with the inflatable T-Rex coming out of his chest is the Lizard. Give that man a Tony! Anyway,
give that man a Tony!
When Norman drops both a tram car and Mary Jane off the Roosevelt Island Bridge, Spidey manages to save them both. Get dunked on, Andrew Garfield! But in the course of the final battle, ends up killing Norman.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
What was he supposed to do?
Unsurprisingly, this takes a mental toll on Peter. After Norman's funeral, he rejects the advances of Mary Jane.
All I wanted was to tell her how much I loved her. I can't.
And listens to his best friend Harry swear vengeance upon Spider-Man.
I swear on my father's grave, Spider-Man.
And it's your best friend.
Shortly after that we see Peter's powers start to fail.
Right.
So looking at the events of the first movie and how they impact Peter in the second, it's my theory that Peter's power loss is directly tied to him suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Let's look at the facts. The Anxiety and Depression Association of America, or ADAA,
no, that's
lays out 4 categories.
That is not the same traumatic. That's 2 different stresses right there.
Each and every one. The first set of criteria relate to the trauma itself. To pass diagnosis in this category, a patient needs to have gone through one of the following: either directly experiencing a traumatic event themselves, witnessing in person a traumatic event, or learning about traumatic events.
So what, like
occurring to a
depression?
close family member. Peter doesn't just hit one of these, he hits all 3. In the first movie, Peter, in a matter of months,
he's got the yips. Case of the yips.
Indescribably traumatic events, both of which involve the death of father figures. First, Uncle Ben, and then Norman Osborn, a man who claims,
I've been like a father to you.
And not only do both men die, and not only does he witness both of those deaths, but they are both
so he's
dead
depressed. He was
because of the
depressed.
action or inaction of Peter. He doesn't stop the robber, which directly leads to Sandman shooting Uncle Ben. And after some brutal psychological warfare from Norman,
The Goblin killed. I had nothing to do with it. Don't let him take me again. I beg you. Protect me.
Spider-Man jumping over the glider finishes off his other father. And all of
His
this
other
father.
childhood love
Which means
getting
that's his
kidnapped
uncle.
because of her association with Peter. It's pretty much unquestionable that Peter has every reason to be suffering some level of PTSD, but is he really? Well, to know
It's
for
like
sure,
what
we have to move on to the
soldiers
second
suffer from,
category of criteria,
but
which looks
yeah, that's
at any
PTSD.
lingering psychological effects of the trauma
I
and
guess
whether
it's a form of
memories
depression,
of it are intruding
maybe.
into everyday life. Of the following, patients must be experiencing at least one to be diagnosed as suffering from PTSD. That list includes unwanted memories of the event interrupting the day, having dreams related to the trauma, psychological distress when exposed to cues that remind you of the event, or physiological reactions to those same cues. Throughout Spider-Man 2, we see memories of Uncle Ben intruding into Peter's everyday life. Ben's oft-repeated mantra, with great power comes great responsibility, drives Peter until he ultimately tells his uncle,
I can't live your dreams anymore.
We also know that Peter is having difficulty sleeping. He's suffering from repeated dreams of these traumatic events, as he reports to his doctor.
You say you can't sleep.
And as Dr. Connors says,
You always appear exhausted.
in short, Peter checks off each and every one of these qualifiers. And remember, only one is necessary for a diagnosis of PTSD. The third criteria required for an official diagnosis looks at the trauma's effects on a patient's emotional life and self-identity. Of the massive list that you see on screen right now, only 2 are required to move into the final stages of diagnosis. But Peter checks off a solid 6, a sinister 6, if you will. If by sinister 6 we're replacing a man-vulture with persistent feelings of detachment. While the first 2, negative beliefs about the world and blaming yourself for the trauma, are kinda, sorta, okay, absolutely 100% true in Peter's case. There's no doubt that he's isolating himself from the rest of the world, as both MJ and Harry
'Cause he
complain
feels
about how hard
responsible.
it's been to see Peter.
Where you been, pal? You don't return my calls.
He's self-sabotaging at his job,
Where you been? Looking for you all morning. Why don't you pay your phone bill?
struggling to pursue the activities
With
in life that he wants to enjoy,
Where were you headed, Parker?
To your class.
My class is over.
I'm trying. I want to be here.
and slowly eroding the most important relationship in his life.
Do you love me?
I don't.
Missing Mary Jane's performances in her new play. And when he
Well
sees her
into
pulling away
herself.
into the arms of other people, wouldn't you know it, but that's when his powers truly start to falter. The powers
He needed
appear to be
love.
tied to Peter's mental health. But to know for sure, we have to move on to the final diagnostic category,
Let's see what you
changes
got.
in arousal.
Yeah, baby.
No,
Yeah, baby.
arousal. The way you react to stimuli in the world around you. And once again in this final category, Pete checks practically every item off the list. Problems with concentration, problems with sleep, easy to startle. Unlike the first film, Spider-Man becomes far more hyper-vigilant in the second movie, staying up all night listening to the police radio, just hoping for something to come up. But where this theory really shines is in explaining why Peter's powers come back. In the movie, they just sort of reappear. Mary Jane gets kidnapped, boom, they're back. It is never addressed. But it can't just be Peter reacting heroically in the moment. He's already done that with a child trapped in a burning building earlier in the movie, and his powers didn't come back then. No, there's something deeper here. Something more psychological at play. You see, while it's not perfect,
he got an attachment to her.
Clinical, Peter does manage to give himself some rudimentary PTSD therapy in the movie. After some advice from a very chill doctor,
You always have a choice, Peter.
Peter gives up his costume and starts focusing on his normal life again. He gets his job under control, he's back to his studies full force. He re-engages with his friends again, seeing Mary Jane's play, reconnecting with Aunt May, even reaching out to his neighbor in a B-plot romance that you think is going somewhere but then gets totally forgotten about despite her being totally available, totally into Peter, and totally making mean chocolate cake. Hashtag justice for neighbor girl.
Justice for neighbor girl.
Peter Parker correlates to the type of work that you'd be doing in IPT, or interpersonal psychotherapy, which specifically has the patient resolving lingering issues with people around them in order to get more control over their life, in order to attain a support network and ultimately come to handle their past trauma. Through these interactions in the movie, Peter is forced to confront some major questions about his relationship with Uncle Ben and his behaviors as Spider-Man, which in turn helps him come to terms with both Ben and Norman's deaths. Mix all of that in with a healthy amount of outdoor exercise and an overall healthier lifestyle, both of which are regular recommendations for anyone struggling with a mental health disorder, and Peter has really done some heroic work. Only this time not for the city of New York, but for himself. Finally, after a
Mental
years,
health
why
straight.
Peter's powers disappear makes sense. He's dealing with the impact of emotional trauma. Trauma that he never had the chance to properly address and deal with in his life when he was having to double as Spider-Man.
Sort of like
Powers
with the
only
Liza
return
Koshy
when he's
video.
able to step back, give himself the self-care that he needs, and help himself before he reaches out to continue helping others. The saddest thing about this is that it's never explicitly addressed in the film. That Spider-Man, in addition to serving as a role
They're not
model
gonna
of
say
physical
that.
strength, could have also been shown as a role model of psychological strength, of living with and handling
It's
not
true.
just goblins and demons out in the real world, but the even more dangerous and seemingly unstoppable ones that lived inside his own head. At the end of the day, this theory just goes to show that everyone, including superheroes, have their own issues, and that battling against depression
It's
or the
true.
effects of trauma might not be as visually exciting as a battle against Tentacle Doctor over here, but it's a battle that is far more real, far more scary, and far more important than any of the ones that you see happen in
so
Spider-Man
true.
2.
Yeah.
And that sometimes the most heroic action you can do is taking the time to rescue yourself before you try rescuing someone else. And with that, there are no more mysteries left in the Sam
That's
Raimi
true.
trilogy. Well, except for how a woman born in Brooklyn has a British accent.
Over the dam or under the bridge or wherever you like it.
I'm on to you, Aunt May. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cuts.
So it's pretty much showing that even you could be a superhero and you could still have
mental health issues. And that's what we're seeing. Like in 2019, we see so many people being real about mental health issues. And I think it needs to be addressed, especially in the African American community, because you know we're quick to say, oh, he crazy, or that person, he always been a little off. But literally they need some help, instead of us just saying, oh, that person is a little off. Or maybe it could be you. Sometimes you feel like you're about to
crack.
Yeah, like you're about to explode or crack. Like that's your mental health.
Yeah.
Just know when you see it or feel it, that's what you're feeling.
I don't know. I guess like you see it happening to you seen it happen to professional athletes this year. People taking time off to address their mental health. It happened to Kevin Love.
Yeah.
Kevin Love took time off because he said he had mental health issues.
Yeah.
Who else? DeMar DeRozan. He got traded from Toronto to San Antonio.
Yeah.
He said it too. Mental health issues. And you got to understand, because these people are performing in front of like thousands of people every night. So it's like you got to put on like an entertaining face,
and then
for people, like, because you're entertaining them. Like,
not only are you entertaining them, now that we have social media will take you to a different level. That's why I understand why some artists, or like a female or male, won't go on these social media sites, because people will make you feel this big if you let them.
Honestly,
only if you let them.
Yeah, honestly, to be on like social media, like, you have to have thick skin.
Yeah.
Like, if you choose to do this, oh, best believe that people are going to say,
because they're going to come for you. You're going to be, I'm a female, I'm going to be a man because I have a raspy voice. I'm going to be all kinds of things, all kinds of shade. But you know what I do? I delete it with a smile.
Hey,
you get no love, or you get no attention, or no whatever from us. Like, we just keep it stepping.
Yeah, but you got to have thick skin. Like you say, your mental health is your most important health.
So I think that's a good theory. It was his mental health that made him lose his powers. He had to get himself together.
And once he got himself together, it was like he was back whole again.
Right.
His brain could function.
I'm not mad at that theory. That's really a really good theory, and a good reason why he would lose his powers and then all of a sudden get them back, because he got himself together.
Yeah, so I'm going to say I enjoyed that video right there.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I agree with the theory.
Yeah, so thank y'all for joining us for this video. Remember to like and subscribe, and leave y'all comments down below.
And we will see you next time.
We out.